Hi everyone. So my group and I decided to work on dealing with COVID-19 in and around the Washington DC metro and in UMD. So our first group was Saket and Madhu, and they were in charge of dorm protocol move out. So the main idea basically is to implement a system that copes with COVID-19 and helps keep students and workers safe. So families have an option to either come pick up their belongings at their own discretion or pay for their belongings to either be sent into a storage container or shipped to their home. We also take sterilization and student safety into account. For example, in between family move-outs, workers will be sterilizing high-contact surfaces in hallways using disinfecting foggers and Clorox products. Workers, 3 per floor, will also be guiding families in operating elevators, 1 per elevator, to maintain social distancing. All workers will be equipped with hazmat suits, N95 rated masks, and protective gloves. Our spray designed by our Metro 1 team will also spray a quickly evaporating alcoholic substance onto the elevators. Students and their families will have 1.5 hours to empty their rooms. As well as students will also collect their belongings by appointment instead of waiting in line to help avoid mass crowdings. The first Metro team was run by Riley and Remy, and their main idea was to introduce a system meant to sterilize high-contact areas of Metro stations in the attempt to lessen germs and virus spread and contamination. So the solution was to design a device that helps prevent and sterilize germs and viruses from getting into the Metro on high-contact surfaces. It works by using an air pump connected to a container holding this disinfectant solution, which is an alcohol-based solution, and it is able to be ejected through a specialized nozzle meant to create a mist effect. It will be implemented in such a way that it is portable. The cleaners involved in the maintenance of the Metro systems could also be tasked to use this device if necessary. The system can also be modified to emulate a water sprinkler system in order to automate the task of disinfecting the Metro system. In this case, the system would be programmed to run at hours when the Metro is not running. The second Metro team was run by myself, Eric, and Ryan. The main idea of this team was to introduce a system that tries to keep the Metro cars as sterile as possible, as well as enforce the social distancing rules introduced by the government. Sterilization includes after a set of Metro cars makes its cycle of stops, it will be given a light cleaning with disinfectant foggers. During this light cleaning, all high-contact surfaces will be of priority, i.e. seats, handlebars, doors, handles, and buttons. Overnight, all Metro cars that were operated during the day will be given a deep cleaning. All surfaces will be given equal priority during this cleaning. During all cleanings, though, custodians will be equipped with hazmat suits, N95 rated masks, protective gloves to ensure their safety, and all the other CDC recommended gear. Social distancing and passenger health. So out on board every 2 cars, a Metro Marshal will ensure social distancing is ensured by guiding families and single passengers to sit at separate benches. No standing will be permitted. The Marshal will also be equipped with an N95 masks and gloves to ensure their safety. The Marshal will also be equipped with a handheld touchless temperature reader in case he feels that a passenger could be afflicted. If there are temperatures abnormal, the Marshal will contact healthcare workers located at each stop and will direct the passengers to the nearest healthcare facility.
For milestone 6B, what the water team decided to do with our previous design is make some modifications to the nozzle. Before, it was just constructed by making some bends in this tube and then poking holes in it. And it created a widespread stream, but it wasn't very mist-like. So what we decided to do is take one of these kind of nozzles and hack it up with a Dremel just down to the nozzle bit. Super glue that in place onto our tube, and this should create more of a mist-like output. So if we plug it in here, we can see that it's much more mist-like. It's hard to pick up on the paper towels, but it is coming out as a mist. You can see it's soaking it, but the output's far less, so it conserves more, and it comes out in a much more spread out fashion that would cover much more of the surface. And again, the design's still the same. We have an air pump pressurizing this container and a tube running out through the cap that sends the water out to the nozzle, which then sprays whatever high contact surface. And for the sake of demonstration, we're using colored water, but the actual design would use some sort of mix of water and isopropyl alcohol as a disinfectant.
Okay, so for the dorm move-out protocol, we now have over 32,000 confirmed cases in Maryland and about 1,600 deaths. Coronavirus still spreads through droplets, airborne transmission, surface transmission, and still there's not been any updates on the number of people that have moved out. So we're going to assume still there's 10,000 beds in total in the 30 plus residence halls. And if we assume 15% have still moved out, then that still leaves 8,500 people that still need to move out. And so we're still going to stick with the same three options: have mover pack and ship everything to a registered address, have movers pack everything and move it to a storage container. So that way students that are returning can actually just retrieve it from the storage container instead of having it shipped back all the way to, like, let's say California, and where they have to bring it back within another, like, 4 months, and then have families just come pick out and move out. And so the rationale behind this is that we don't want people to fear for their lives and like feel like they have to come during this time period, but we also don't want families to feel like they're forced to have their stuff touched and moved around or even kept if they have to. So the logistics behind this is still families that choose to come in themselves will be given an appointment time based on where they live and what floor they live on. And there will also be professional movers working on each side of the building just to move out. So here's a freshman dorm layout. You see that there's two sides, the left and the right side. And so for the move out procedure, we'll have approximately two professional movers per floor, one on each side. And then because of the relaxed guidelines, we can actually allow for two families, one on each side of the building, to move out at the same time. Of course, there can only be one family in the elevator at a time just to prevent the spread of coronavirus, and there will be one person that'll be taking care of controlling the elevator, just making sure it goes to the proper floors, and they'll be touching all the buttons and everything just to prevent more spread. And so obviously there'll be one person that's stuck, and they'll have to be controlling all that, and people will have to check in and check out as soon as they come just to make sure that we have everything rolling. And so we still have families that have a 1.5 hour window to move everything out, but this can be changed because there's two families and two movers working per floor rather than just one. And we'll see some calculations how we can change that later. Right, so here we can see that if there's 1 hour and 30 minutes to move out, and then 15 minutes here and there for just check in, check out, and there's 4 beds being cleared per floor. If we say there's 6 to 7, that is, again, a little bit of an underestimate because a lot of the freshman dorms do have 8, while some others do have 4. So it's like an average. And there's actually 38 dorms. Then we see that in 1 hour and 45 minutes, you can clear about 1,000 beds. And we said there was 8,500 beds in total, divided by the 1064 per the one session. So you get 8 sessions, approximately 8 sessions. And with the 8 sessions, if each takes about an hour, 30 minutes, hour 45, then it takes 13 hours and 20 minutes of effective moving time in order to move everyone out, which means this can be potentially cleared in one day. Of course, there are some issues, being that there needs to be time in between family move in and out so that you can like clear it and remove possible traces of corona and stuff like that. So this 13 hours is just effective moving time. You can insert like maybe an hour or two in between each period to wipe down all the surfaces that were touched to potentially remove transmission surfaces, and in which case it would take maybe 24 hours, which would be basically 2 days worth of moving, which is completely viable. And so some problems we had at the beginning were how to clean the elevators, time, how to clean the hallways, cost, how to handle downtime, and how to enforce the 1 hour, 30-minute rule. So in order to address some of these, the 1 hour, 30-minute session, because we have the 13 hours of effective moving time, we can actually potentially bump up the amount of time families have to come in and move. Basically, this will cause more time and obviously cost more money, but it will allow families a little bit more time. They don't feel like they're rushed and they have to get everything done within like a little time. Uh, for the downtime, because of the loosened regulations, we can have more families per floor, which means effective downtime will actually double, because instead of having one family moving per floor with two, then your downtime is still going to be more effective because you're cleaning not more like not legit like exponentially more surfaces. And in terms of time, because it's about 13 hours to take out all the rooms, you can have more uh time in between, and 2 days does not seem like a very demanding amount of time to move out everyone given the current situation. And that's it. Thank you.
Both the metro and dorm move out protocol will be essential to the entire move out process, especially for out of state students. So the integration will involve the person going from their home to the metro system, then the bus will ultimately take them from the metro system in College Park to the dorm area. Once they arrive at the dorms, then they will move out their stuff and gather their belongings. Then, after gathering their belongings, they will get back on the buses that will run and take them back to the College Park Metro for them to return home. So the same disinfection mechanisms will be used throughout both the dorms, the buses, and the metro system. And these techniques can be seen in the table to the right. And this involves routine cleaning will be for handlebars, benches, and railings in the metros and buses. And for the dorms, it will be the door handles, elevator buttons, and move out carts. For deep cleaning, the entire surfaces, floors, walls, windows will all be disinfected, both in the transportation and dorm move out protocol. And then the social distancing will obviously have to be followed, so masks, gloves will be used at all times, and only one person will be on each bench or in an elevator at a time. And then lastly, the disinfection pressurized spray system. This will kind of relate to the deep cleaning used at night or in between use. So for the metros, it will be used in the metro when it is empty. And for the dorms, it'll be used in elevators after each group exits.